Hello, and welcome to How to Prepare Customer Data to Improve Your AI Strategy and Tools. Today's webinar is sponsored by Imperity and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get to today's great content, we do have a few housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in your webinar control panel. So not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that you have. The Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues that you might be experiencing. A browser refresh will fix most audio, video, or slide advancement issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know there in the Q&A and somebody will help you out. Now, second, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find that we're offering several resources. There's a bunch of Actual Tech Media resources in there, but I'd especially like to call your attention to a link to get started with Imperity. Now, at the end of this webinar event, we'll be awarding a $250 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for that prize. Official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found in the handout section. Just scroll to the bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. And finally, one of the best benefits of this event is the opportunity to ask a question of our expert presenter. So to help encourage your questions, we have a special additional prize for you. That's another Amazon gift card, this one for $50 for the best question. After the event is over, we'll look at all the questions that came in, pick out the very best one, and contact that prize winner. Okay, with all that housekeeping out of the way, let's get to today's great presentation. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to our presenter today. We have Jason Perocho, who's Vice President of Product Marketing at Imperity. Jason, welcome.
Thanks, Scott. Happy to be here.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, I'll just step aside and let you take it away.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for taking the time to listen to our presentation today. Over the course of the next 30 to 45 minutes, I hope to walk you through just some of the problems that we're facing with customer data today, how to organize your customer data using the medallion architecture, and then how to best deploy that customer data for activation across your business users. Well, let's start by really digging in and defining the problem space that we're all facing today. And what we're seeing really is a revolution in customer data operations. Customer data operations is really the core of what businesses struggle with. It's the ability to turn raw customer data into a usable asset for your business teams. Now, it's always been more of the unsexy part of data engineering. When business owners come to us and they're saying, hey, I need to solve X, Y, or Z, the data foundation is often overlooked in service of just getting them the information that they need to activate, with a little credence paid to, well, what is the actual business result of it? It's more, I've checked the box and they have the ability to go execute now. But with the advent and the the rise of generative AI, with the rise of hyper personalization at scale across all the different channels that consumers personalize on, never has it been more important to have a solid customer data foundation where businesses truly understand who their customers are and how they've interacted with them. Now, generally, we have this virtuous cycle in which data engineers are doing a lot of the hard work of resolving, shaping, and modeling customer data and sending it over to their business counterparts who then activate against it. But an often unexplored or not much talked about part of customer data operations are the underlying workflows that ensure that customer data remains high quality to power those end user systems. Unfortunately, customer data operations is often an overlooked topic. When you talk to a lot of technical users, most folks overestimate the data quality inside of the data warehouse and underestimate the work it takes to transform data. So let's break that down. So when we have a data warehouse or a data lake or a data lake house, it's a centralized repository where we do keep all of our business's data. The question though is, how high a quality of data is actually stored inside of the data warehouse? Sure, we can extract some of that data for using SQL queries for our business intelligence systems, but is it actually ready to be activated against for your business users? some of the core common problem that we see with customer data inside of a data warehouse is that it is not necessarily resolved around a person. As in, we haven't built an identity graph to associate all the PII identifiers with that specific person. Now, not doing this hard work of resolving identities and unifying person tables together results in poor decision making by downstream business users. So, for example, imagining a marketer running a win back campaign thinking that, oh, this person has only bought once, when they've actually just used a different email address because they want to get that 15% off promotion. So, a best practice would be to resolve those identities together to ensure that you have the complete purchasing history of that specific user. So that's some of the issues with trying to transform this, like thinking about data warehouse. It is an amazing, great partner to store all your raw data, but how are you transforming the data inside there and making it a usable asset for your business? On the other side, we see a lot of builders that want to go out and say, hey, I have some of this functionality already. Let me go ahead and try to build the rest of the components to shape data and get it out to my end customer. But what we're seeing a lot inside of customers that start doing this at scale is a lot of complexity managing all the different systems required to making this a reality, to creating that valuable data asset that CDPs normally would do. Bottom line for those of us that want to build these types of solutions is that if you look across this entire solution, there is no ability to test the end-to-end data workflows. There's no unified sandbox environment to ensure that the data workflows work and get it out to their end customer. I challenge you all, those that do have a setup like this, and to ask yourselves, hey, where do you safely make changes? Are you making changes in a production environment? Are you having to take your systems offline in order to safely make those changes? Are you testing it on real data? Because you might have real data before porting those changes over into a production environment. These are the areas of the customer data operations that often go unnoticed that lead to a lot of headaches for technical teams. And I don't want to minimize this problem of maintaining high quality data. I mean, maintaining high quality data is extremely difficult. End-to-end customer data workflow management drains time and resources from IT teams. The first big reason, though, is around a topic that I mentioned already, identity. Identity is a difficult and specialized form or usage of customer data, and it isn't something that isn't just done once. Resolving identities can be extremely expensive at scale as you try to merge customer files together. And it also leaves room for error as new or conflicting data is captured. So some of your rules might break if a different piece of data is added. If a different personal identifier is used, how are you going to actually associate those two profiles together? Will you overmatch? Will you undermatch? These are the questions that a good identity resolution provider will solve for. The second area is that data access is extremely tough to govern. Now, you have business users out there asking for another piece of data, another data source to be integrated into a customer profile. But what they don't realize is that this requires a lot of data modeling on your end, as well as governance to ensure that data is kept secure. Third is that change management is often poorly executed. And we mentioned this when looking at trying to piecemeal together a customer data platform solution. Updating these data workflows takes forever because you are swiveling between your ETL, your tooling, your data warehouse tooling, your BI tooling, your data science tooling, your identity tooling, your reverse ETL tooling. All of this requires expertise from your technical teams to understand exactly what each one of these products does and how to shape it for your specific need. And even when you shape it, there is no unified testing ground in order to test these end-to-end data workflows to make sure that they work for your business. And finally, these tools that we just talked about, they're inflexible, but they are flexible. But essentially, they're highly opinionated. Might be a more accurate way of saying it. And unless you have a strong point of view of exactly what you want these tools to do, and you have strong technical resources that understand the ins and outs of each one of these tools, well, then it's extremely tough for you to then shape it for your specific business need. And that really gets to the heart of like what we try to help you do here at Imperity. Like we want to help you take control of your customer data operations with a centralized AI-powered toolkit. Now, what we specifically help you do is resolve identities faster. We get it. It's a very specialized domain. It's extremely difficult to use. And what we offer is AI tooling that helps you arm your data teams to help unify customer profiles. And most importantly, build a universal and stable ID. Now, this ID will be stable even as new and conflicting data is introduced. So you can rely on it for business intelligence, for activation, for data science, and even to unite all the other data streams that you have coming together in your data warehouse together. And we'll talk here in a few slides on exactly how to best use a data warehouse and Imperity tool together. The second is how we help you fulfill business requests more quickly. So Imperity is a platform built on the same technology that all of the big data stores are built on. So that gives you the ability to rapidly create new attributes based on our data models that are already shaped to drive value. And once you build that attribute, that data model, it becomes instantly available for your business teams because we are also the same platform for activation. Third, like we help you streamline change management. What we do is help you safely adapt and control workflows, data models, and rules as your business needs change. Now, what we offer is a full sandbox in which you can copy over your entire production environment so that you could test end-to-end data workflows before going live. Now, this helps you maintain uptime. This helps you maintain data integrity. This makes you make sure that you're building out the high-quality data workflows that your customers expect. And finally, like we give you the ability to optimize your entire tech stack. What we do is allow you to easily set up and govern where and how to process customer data. So our architecture gives you the ability to both create attributes, data models, as well as full databases. And because of Imperity's design, in which we are structured the same as a data lakehouse, we ensure that you have the ability to port or egress any asset to any other destination at scale. Essentially, like what we're trying to help you do is improve operational efficiencies inside of your data engineering teams. Forrester did a total economic impact study on some of our customers, and what they found is that these technical teams are able to spend less time building and maintaining customer profiles. In fact, 80% less time. In fact, our setup is extremely quickly because we use something called semantic tags, which allow you to port data in any structure, in any format, and we will automatically structure it and normalize the data for you so that it's ready for activation. We have a lot of great customers that have seen success with Imperity. I want to call out, we work with some of the largest brands out there, and one specific global lifestyle retailer was able to completely replace their Epsilon enterprise data warehouse with Imperity. What they recognized by moving to the cloud and utilizing our systems built for scale and agility, they were able to reduce data latency from 7 days to 1 day. Now that goes to our ability to be able to run an identity resolution algorithm every single day to bring together all of that data together to provide them with that accurate picture. And that accurate picture resulted in 1 million additional profiles that were resolved that they didn't realize were the same customer. And as they were building out their system, they were able to fulfill business requests extremely quickly because, again, they were able to build the attributes directly on the Imperity platform. So they were able to launch over 100 new attributes inside of the profile in less than 3 months. Essentially, Imperity, just to round out exactly who we are a customer data platform, but it's our mission that really drives us. And our mission is to help every brand turn complex customer data into business value. To say it super simply, we totally believe that better data equals better results. And even though our last customer did replace their on-premise enterprise data warehouse, we do believe in the big data revolution that's going on with partners like Snowflake, Databricks, and Azure. In fact, we are one of their top partners. Snowflake has recently named us a leader in customer data activation, and Databricks named us the partner of the year. So I'm sure you're wondering why. Why are these data warehouses working with like awarding these accolades to us? And it's because we solve the hardest problem in customer data, is how do you create that unified view of your customer? And it really comes down to this toolkit that we offer like our customers to build that unified customer data foundation. It starts down at the bottom where we help ingest data. Now, we uniquely help ingest data through semantic tags. So you could send data to us in any format, and we will normalize data for you to get it ready for processing and identity resolution. When we talk about customer data operations, what we also have built into our system are a bunch of microservices that allow you to monitor the health of your data and workflows, to explore data, to ensure that you can measure every click or every transformation that has happened, as well as giving you an audit log. So if anything ever does happen, we also we allow you to inspect what happened and revert back to the previous configuration setting. Now, all this is managed through our data workflow settings that you can easily set up connections to any of our 400 different destinations that we offer, and also a full sandbox that gives you validation, one-click validation error resolution, so you can quickly correct any errors in your workflows before promoting to environment. After we have the data in and establish our data workflows, here's where the real hard work begins. And we then help you build these accurate profiles. And even though it's the smallest thing down the bottom left-hand corner under AMP ID, it's one of our most powerful parts of our platform. It's our artificial intelligence and machine learning ID resolution. So this is an area of our product in which we have over 15 different patents around in order to help customers accurately resolve the data. One example of these types of innovations is a blocking technique in which we parse through customer data. We separate personal identifier information from the rest of the data and start with that to help resolving data. And rather than look at the entire string, we will look at the first 3 or 4 characters to begin with to start simplifying our matches. The entire purpose of this patent is to help accelerate and operate at a speed in which enterprise businesses expect. Because if you're resolving data across 11, 12, 13 billion records, even higher, then you need a technique that will help you resolve identities at scale. And that's just one of our 16 patents that allow you to do it. But we don't want you to completely say, hey, trust us, bro. Everything's good. What we do give you is a bunch of tooling that allows you to go in and inspect how and why our artificial intelligence brought those resolve those profiles together. So you have a pairwise score inspector that allows you to say, hey, what is the strength of these records, as well as a stitch explorer to help you analyze field by field how and why these were merged together. And if you don't like the merge, we also offer one-click merge to unmerge data to your liking. All this, again, in service up here of AMP ID to provide you a universal stable identifier to help bring all the customer profile data together. Essentially, we help you build an identity spine that will allow you to run the rest of your business. Now, on the other side, it's not just about customer identities, though. It's about unifying all the data associated with that customer identity. And what we offer out of the box are specific data models. And to get into some of them is a contactability table, which allows you to keep track of the most recent or frequent used PII data or email addresses or phone numbers, et cetera, so that you can increase contactability rates downstream with your marketers. We offer you a unified transaction table and a unified web event data table. Talking to customers, this was hundreds of hours of works before. This can all be created once our stitch algorithm runs in less than a couple minutes. We also, for those out there that are wondering, how do we shape our data and get it out to our respective teams, and how do we protect it and apply governance layers around it? Well, we offer you role-based access to all these data levers, so that you only need to provide access to the data that each specific role needs. And if that role can't see PII data, then we have both abstraction tools as well as hashing tools that obfuscate PII data away from the user to secure that data. And up top, the data orchestration tools, these are pretty much the tooling that we offer right to the business user. And this is why the business user and the technical user can operate on Amperity all at the same time. They have instant access to all the attributes, predictive models, audiences that underlie the workflows here, so that they can easily get started with this. Now, I think it's important to also state where Amperity sits inside of the tech stack. We very much view ourselves as the sexy middleware layer that does the hard job of resolving data and building that 360 environment. We have great connections directly into data warehouses that help us transfer data back and forth, or reference data back and forth, as well as analytic tools that help you get a deeper understanding. And we also work extremely well with event routing tools that help for real-time data activation. We also have a bunch of pre-built pipelines that connect to the rest of your stack, whether it's customer engagement tooling, customer support, or even programmatic access to third-party data sources like Amazon Ads, Google Ads, TikTok, etc. And I think this would be a good time to jump over and explain to you exactly how you would set up your customer data to work inside of this modern data tech stack. So I'm going to go ahead and present my screen and walk you through a few slides about what we're branching off of, called the medallion architecture. Now, we
And
didn't
Jason,
invent
I'm seeing your
Yep.
screen. Yep, all good.
Perfect. Cool. So to be clear, we did not invent the medallion architecture. The medallion architecture is a Databricks construct that talks about the different states in which data lives in. These are the data transformations necessary to extract the most value for business users. But to put it into a customer data sense, let's walk through each one of these transformations. When we look at customer data, we refer to bronze level data. That's your raw data coming in specifically from your point of sale systems, your e-commerce systems. We're not doing any transformations on it. It's just the raw data, the raw files. Now, those files have to exist in order for any tooling to then model that data. So an example of unified data or model data is what you see below, unified transactions. Here, we've taken the raw data, we've applied our Amperity ID around it, and have associated each one of these transactions with a specific person that has made this purchase. But what good is it if I just tell my business user, hey, here's a list of the 40 transactions that customer A did? There's no way for them to actually activate against that. There has one more transformation that needs to happen, and that is the gold level aggregate data. Now, this is an interpretation of what a summary data of what silver data is. It's the aggregated data. It's the interpretation of what does this mean for the business user. So rather than having about 10, 20 different transactions, we could say, hey, those transactions mean that the customer lifetime value is X. The average order value is Y. Where they are in the life cycle is Z. So this is the transformation in which business users can truly act on the data that you have. So Amperity's role inside of this big data ecosystem is to transform the customer data for you. Now, you can go ahead and try to run this inside of your data warehouse, operationalize all the identity jobs as well as the 360 jobs inside of there. But what you'll quickly realize is that it's going to take a lot of compute, a lot of different storage, because you still have to store each one of these transformations, and it's extremely slow and inaccurate. What we offer to big data sources like Databricks and Snowflake is that we help customers save time and get hundreds of hours back by utilizing our AI ML identity resolution to unify that data. And our AI ML is trained on billions of data sets. You may have, as a customer, millions, thousands, maybe 8 billion data sets, but we have looked across our entire customer base and recognized, hey, like here are the common associations necessary in order to bring customer data together. The second is that we really help you optimize compute cost. We'd help you lower your tech spend by optimizing like the identity compute cost, as well as eliminating any third-party identity vendors out there. And as an FYI, a lot of these third-party identity vendors are going to see a huge degradation of their performance until it's almost unusable next year as Google retires their cookie. Google is the last major platform to retire cookies, which is what all these third-party identifiers rely on to do identity resolution. So what we're trying to help you all do is future-proof identity resolution and optimize compute at the same time. The third is just helping you accelerate data modeling, because we're like shortening the time to value to shape customer data to do that advanced modeling that Databricks and Snowflake are absolutely phenomenal at. Now, the way that we go about doing that is separating out the jobs at a very practical, pragmatic standpoint, is that you would prioritize unifying PII-rich data inside of Imperity. Now, PII-rich data is much more complex. It has more signals, and it also has the greatest downstream impact. So what do I mean by PII-rich data? Those are your channel profiles. So profiles that are coming from your ESP, your SMS tooling, your OTT tooling. Bring those profiles into Imperity, bring the channel loyalty, bring transactional data in, and allow us to resolve those identities. Because from a business impact perspective, this is the data that will help in more strategic decision making. Should we launch a new product? Should we double down and create a new store in a specific geography? These are big business strategy questions. But from a customer lens, resolving this PII contact data is extremely important in order just to be able to reach the customer. Because no matter what you do, no matter how many events you round around, like the important part first is being able to contact them and then deciding what is the next best offer. On the other side is what we say is to provide the PII sparse data. You could store that, bring that directly in your data warehouse and resolve that data there. Because data like engagement data, clickstream data, telemetry data, this is all data that can be easily resolved through deterministic matching. We could also take a further step of once the data is in and we resolve the overall profile, referencing the completed unified customer profile and Imperity in the data warehouse and saying, hey, let's append now on the engagement, clickstream, and telemetry data for further analysis. And this data, while impactful, is not as strategically impactful as the PII-rich data, because like the business impact here, these are the insights for retargeting and suppression campaigns and use cases. Extremely valuable and important in marketing events right now, but are not the type of data that will help like make the big strategy questions up top. It also has a huge impact on the customers because it's about uniting these touch points and providing those deeper levels of personalization. But again, PII-rich data is important because the first objective is to reach them and then serve the deep layer of personalization. Like our recommended customer data architecture is essentially as follows. We know that you have a bunch of different source systems, and we recommend landing them in like our Azure blob, a place where we could like parse through the bronze data and separate out the PII data from the sparse PII data. We then use Imperity as this layer to accelerate the customer data operations necessary to transform and make that valuable data asset. So like we'll ingest the data through our semantic tags, normalize the data, and then resolve the identities around all of that data. So once you create like a silver or gold level asset, you can actually just reference that data in your Databricks instance, for example, without copying it back over. And that's thanks to our deep integration with Databricks and their new data lakehouse. So this is like more of like a no copy architecture, which you could reference the data and then append on all the additional PII sparse data, as well as do the advanced AI and ML modeling necessary to be successful, to mine for those deeper personalization insights. Now, once you've created those attributes inside of the data warehouse, we recommend then pushing those attributes back up into Imperity, where we can then activate on those attributes. So we're both an area where you resolve data as well as activate against data. And that's the seamless integration between Imperity, and a data warehouse. So coming back to our our presentation as part of this, let's expand all the way back out and just talk about how you optimize data across your entire tech stack in this wire diagram. Again, it starts with all your source systems and separating out the real-time event data from all of the real-time and batch data. Again, we believe that the data lakehouse, your data warehouse, your data lake is your data store, is your primary data repository. What we're just asking for is the customer to do the customer data operations inside of Imperity, where we could resolve identities as well as unify profiles together. Now we have a profile API that allows you to expose that unified customer profile together so that you could do real-time decisioning, real-time personalization in an event routing type fashion. We could also send your data into a profile store. And one thing to call out with our profile API, you don't just expose a few attributes. You could actually create as many different routes for the profile API, so you could extend a multitude of different attributes out to power each one of your downstream real-time activation systems. So once you have the unified profile, again, as we discussed, you could reference those unified profiles in your data lakehouse, do your AI ML jobs on it, and bring it back into Imperity for activation to all your orchestration systems, your programmatic orchestrations, as well as your sales and support systems. That is essentially how you power data, like customer data operations, across your tech stack. Now, I know this seems like a lot, and this might be a little bit different view of how most vendors have pitched how to set up your customer data tech stack, but we want to recognize that like every vendor here is good at something very specific. And if you really want to take a composable approach to it, then you have to ask yourself, what is the best in class tools and technologies at every state of my customer data transformation? Now, this isn't something that like we're spouting or a startup that hasn't any customers yet. Like in fact, we have like a huge, almost enterprise first motion where the world's technology leaders truly trust us to solve the hardest problem out there. The brands that you see on screen have some of the most sophisticated data engineering teams out there, and they all trust Imperity to solve this unified customer data problem. And they recognize, that moving forward, like our vision really is to be the platform for customer data, powering 100% of the insights and actions for 100% of the consumer brands that are out there. And again, because we are built for customer data, like this has been at the foundation of our company. I mean, our company was founded back in 2016 with the mission of how do we resolve these identities together? Like how do you bring identities together in order to provide customers with that unified, accurate C360? We did that in wave one with identity resolution, moved to the C360 in phase two, bought a company called Castora that allowed us to connect all of this data foundation out to marketers, and then continue to iterate there as the technology trends have continued. And you can see over the course of these, 7 short years, we've had a ton of innovation, and we've launched a ton of patents. And what I'm going to do for the final part of this presentation is just to bring you inside of Imperity to show you exactly what it is that we offer. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time. Scott, can you see my screen?
It's coming up. Yes, I see it now.
Excellent. So what you're looking at inside of our screen is the home screen of the Imperity environment. And we're specifically landed in our Stitch tab, in which we can inspect how and why customer data has been brought together. Now, if we have any questions about any activity that's ever happened in our system, we give you complete visibility into all the data workflows that are happening under the scene. So you can go back, inspect, audit these workflows to see where and how anything broke. Now, what we offer when customers bring in records, they generally don't really understand how many customers that they have. People come to me and said, "Hey, Jason, I think we have about 130 million different customers that we market to." It's like that's how many customer profiles I have. It's like, all right, interesting. Like, let's run our algorithm and see exactly how many profiles. And usually we could cut that in half, a third, because of the data quality underlying these that a lot of the struggles that customers struggle with. But we could go ahead and explore kind of these stitched together customer profiles. And here you can see a sample stitch profile of Alexandra Samuelson. So Alexandra Samuelson has a bunch of different profiles from a bunch of different data sources. So we could see data sources coming in from their loyalty, their point of sale, which is an offline transactions that happen inside of their store, Wi-Fi connections, and then a multitude of different records from their e-commerce store. Because honestly, how many of you out there haven't created a fake email address to get that 10-15% off coupon from Wayfair or Overstock.com? What we're trying to offer here is like the ability for those types of brands to bring that information together and truly understand the complete customer journey they're having with you. And as you can see, email addresses vary, full names vary, like people have moved around, but we were still able to unite that data together. But how strong is that connection? And that's where we offer our cluster graph for folks to inspect a simple random sample to understand how these are brought together. I mean, we will rate each one of our pairwise connections to show you exactly what the matches are across different levels of PII data, as well as giving you the ability to compare all the elements of other data together to see how and why like these records are connected. Like right now, we're comparing the data source of loyalty members and their e-commerce customers together. I could go through and explore each one of these connections. As you can see, as we move down, as these lines change from like black to blue to green, you can see less and less data, which is why there's a level of confidence interval that our algorithm uses in order to bring these together. You can even take it a step further and look at exactly what the pairwise score is for each one of these connections. So I'm sure you're wondering, okay, cool, but why does this matter? Why does it matter that I have all these different merge rules? What does it matter that we have all these different the strength of connections? Well, let's think of it from a marketer's perspective. Like as a marketer, like if I was going to do a direct mailing campaign, that's extremely expensive. And I want to be absolutely sure that I am sending it to the most recent address that this person has used, or that is their home address. So what I would do is I would select only matches that have merge rules that say, hey, I only want to merge data that has a confidence interval greater than a 4 or equal a 5. Now think about another use case, paid media. Paid media operates in a way that they're looking for, like they're trying to match who you are based on what you know about them. So the way that the matching algorithm works is by, in example, Google Ad Network uses a Gmail address to go and find you. So if you have a Gmail address sitting somewhere in your database that you think is associated with this person, then you're going to want to be able to say, hey, like, I want to send that Gmail address. And that's what our pipelines do. They optimize for their end destination, but they also hold a cluster of personally identifier information that allows you to activate against it, no matter like what the data source is. Like our pipeline will determine which is the best contactability address to use. So again, that's the importance of Stitch and bringing the resolution of the identities together. Let's go a step further and talk about how we provide different views for different users inside of our system. So here in our customer C360 database, you can see data feeds that are set up for somebody that is a customer's 360 user. Somebody needs to look and analyze all this data for either SQL jobs or AI/ML. But up here, we could actually create different views for different personas. So let's say a loyalty marketer wanted to have access to the system. Well, they could simply select the loyalty, or they will be actually just given the loyalty view in which only the loyalty attributes are extended. If we go down even further, here you'd see, here's just the loyalty view that we would extend out to these loyalty marketers. So they would still have access to the underlying data, but they would only be able to see like the specific information that they need to do their job. And let's double click in that. Let's take that use case and double click into it a bit further and talk about the different segments and campaigns that I can create based off of this data. So now that we're here in our we have it here in our metrics tab, and you can tell that this is a live webinar. So we'll just go ahead and move over to our segments. We're going to go ahead and want to analyze some of our more high value segments that are out there. And unfortunately, I might have to reload my screen. Give me 2 seconds. This shows you that we are doing this demo live inside of our org. No faking anything here about it. Let's go ahead and load our segments, which are unfortunately, there we go. We're going to bring that up here. Bring it back to our C360, show the metrics behind it. Let's look at our metrics from a C360 perspective, because we're looking at all of our customers. Now, because we unite online and offline data together, we can analyze trends that are happening inside of our business, get a better snapshot of exactly who our audience is and at what part of the life cycle are they in. We could see all of their purchasing activities, and understand what those trends are over time to help us better run our business. We could even drill a little bit further down into our segments. There we go, and refresh and look at our loyalty members. Now, because we have unified all of that data together, both online and offline data, we get deeper insights about the revenue as well as the reachability or contactability about each one of these members inside of the program. We get insights on what the expected revenue is per customer, as well as using our AI ML to predict what the revenue will be over the course of the next year based on spending patterns. We can even break down that data which helps our marketers create a strategy around that. So here, when we break down the attributes here, we can actually identify exactly who this customer base is as part of this high loyalty membership. We know that they are primarily an older demographic that do email, that mainly live in the suburbs. And again, we can go down further and further and further about all these different attributes that we provide out of the box to understand who this specific segment is. So when we want to go and create a campaign, we can create a campaign that will actually connect and resonate with this target customer base. So with that, I hope you have a bit of better understanding of specifically about how to manage customer data and how Amperity helps solve one of the hardest problems out there about unifying customer profiles together. I think we have about 10, 12 more minutes left in the webinar, so I'm happy to answer any questions as they come in.
Awesome. Yeah, great presentation, great demo. And we do have a lot of questions that have come in here. One of the first ones has to do with master data management. They're asking, what if we already have an MDM that resolves identities for us?
Yep. That's actually a great question, and a question that we hear a lot. The question back is kind of like, well, what is if we go back to the central purpose of what is the purpose of master data management solution? And understanding the ultimate goal around a master data management solution. And just simply say it, MDMs are really not built for activation or scale. MDMs are built first data agnostic, just like a data warehouse. And these are tools that require you to manually maintain merge rules. Now, there has been some improvement in some MDMs recently that do things that they'll claim as AI and ML, but that AI ML is just called fuzzy matching, which allows people to say, hey, my name is Jason. I might have run Jay. That's a nickname. Those two go together. But that is what we would consider table stakes for AI ML today in identity resolution. We have to go far beyond just fuzzy matching first names and last names to figure out if these people are accurately associated together. MDMs also do not come with any pre-built attributes, aggregates, or calculated aggregates that are most commonly used in in marketing or customer service use cases. Simply said, Amperity is designed to resolve, operationalize, and activate your back office online and offline customer data through our customer data operations.
Okay. All right. Excellent. We've got a couple of questions here from people who are interested in sort of the AI aspect and data security. So, combining questions here from Mark and Peter, they're asking, what's a good approach to keep PII data from being submitted to AI, which is external to the company?
Yep. That question probably be taken in a couple different directions. First, I want to talk a little bit about the AI ML algorithm that we use. So first of all, we have already pre-trained our AI ML algorithm that we use for to stitch these profiles together. So like the customer data sets that currently reside in Imperity are not actually exported or trained upon. Like we don't learn further from the customer data that we already have. So that all that PII data is kept secure inside of the customer's tenant. So I want to be really clear about that we do not train our customer data, like our AI/ML stitch algorithm on that, like our customer's customer data set. Another avenue that we could take this is like ensuring that when we egress data, how do we ensure that we egress data safely, and ensure that like customer data is safe in transit when it's going to be activated upon. Specifically, I'm thinking about the use cases when, like with the death of the cookie, you're going to have to transmit some type of PII data to a Meta, to a TikTok, to a Google Ads network in order for these ad networks to function properly. Because the third-party identity spine, dead. So what we do in those instances is we use a hash algorithm in order to send hashed PII data over to securely send the data over to our partners who we have a partnership with, that then decodes it and uses it as a part of their matching algorithms. Now, to be clear, also about like this, safety with PII data, these ad networks already have the PII data, and your marketers are already sending this type of PII data to the end customers. They're actually downloading data into spreadsheets, into CSV files, and then uploading them into onboarders directly to ad networks. So a lot of this is happening, but like all that uploads are very insecure because it's a CSV file with unredacted, unhashed PII data. So hopefully that answered the question.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was great. A question from Ben here. Does this integrate with customer data and systems such as Zendesk?
Yep, absolutely. We have a ton of customers that move to Zendesk. If you look at Fivetran connectors, we have every single one of Fivetran's connectors because that is an underlying technology that supports our ETL motion. What we've built upon that is using semantic tags that allow, as data comes in, to normalize the data for you for processing in our identity resolution algorithm. But for all intents and purposes, like we support every single destination, our end source that Fivetran does, plus some that we personally customized ourselves to optimize for performance for activation channels.
Okay. All right. Super. Next question here is from Vinay, who's wondering, how do you comply with geo rules such as GDPR and California's privacy rules?
That great question. Super happy that somebody asked that question. We kind of hit on governance a little bit, and you might have been starting to piece together. It's like, okay, they have a data explorer, they have an audit log. What we actually have are pre-built workflows, like the right to forget workflows, built into our system already, as well as GDPR, CCPA, tables that allow you to maintain compliance with the patchwork of regulations that are out there right now. So we have pre-built workflows and tables to help you with those specific use cases.
Okay. All right. Super. Another question here. Does this architecture mean that I need two CDPs, or I guess that's customer data platforms?
Yep. That would be customer data platforms. Another great question, the question that we often get asked a lot. First of all, we'll say that CDP, as for those buyers that are doing research right now, you'll probably look at like 20 different websites and say, all this looks exactly the same. They all say exactly the same messaging. And it's only by going and talking to like a technical expert, to going in and actually doing a pilot or an evaluation when you would start uncovering some of the differences between CDP vendors. Uh, David Chan is a great author that I highly recommend that everybody follow. That articulates a little bit like what we're seeing in the CDP space. But there are, in my opinion, of three different classifications of tech. There's three different technologies that actually exist under the umbrella term customer data platform. There are CDPs that are very focused in on moving events from one destination to another in real time, really fast. I'll colloquially call them an event router. There are other CDPs that are saying, hey, we're going to go try to solve the data problem that you have. In fact, that all this data is not organized. And there's other CDPs that are like, hey, we're focused on analytics and activation. We just integrate super tightly with the activation systems necessary and just use this more as like a data store. So when we say like there's like, when people say two CDPs, it's like we actually more unpack that a little bit further and ask, what are your use cases? And if you think about the difference between like, event routing versus like what we've talked about today, which is about building a data foundation, it's essentially we're asking about two different things inside of like a modern data stack. It's like, how do you transmit data quickly between different objects? And then how do you reconcile disparate pieces of data in order to create a unified view? Like those two ideas are inherently in conflict with each other. Moving data really quickly, as well as being thoughtful about how all that data comes together. And it's what we see customers eventually, especially in the enterprise space, realize it's not an either or. That's a false choice. It's a yes and in order to solve these two specific use cases and assemble a best-in-class modern data stack. So one core CDPs, we would say we work great with a segment, for example, for everybody that needs to route event data back and forth, and we could expose a profile store or help arm segment with a slice of the unified profile so that it can do its job of managing tags and routing the event data back and forth. And then with us, we are the customer data foundation. We are the ones that actually assemble the unified customer profile to put together, and a data warehouse is where you do all the additional data appends and AI/ML jobs necessary to be successful.
Okay. All right, great. Naveen has an interesting question here, and it's a great one because you're sort of sitting like at the center of the spider web of all the data coming in from third parties and from internal systems. Naveen's question is, how are third party data developments posing challenges to marketers today? Like, what are you seeing in the trends that are the big challenges that people are having?
Yep, the big trend with third party data is that it's starting to become absolutely in trouble. And I want to separate two thoughts when it comes to third party data. The first part of one part of third party data is using third party data as an identity source. The other is using it as an enrichment source. So the enrichment source is not going away. There will always be companies that provide additional insights, the Trade Desk and Criteo, that provide valuable first party insights about that really append and help people round out a customer profile. But on the other side, there's third party data like cookies, Facebook's pixels that track people across sources to try to figure out exactly who they are and what they're doing. That type of third party data is the data that we're talking about that's going away. And anybody that tries to aggregate those third party data systems, whether pixels, third party cookies, et cetera, like the DMP, data management platforms have basically lost all their efficacy, mainly because if you just walk through just your general life, think about when you download an app, 90% of the people now, if you have an iPhone, will say ask app, not the track. So mobile tracking is gone. You see on websites, hey, do you want to accept all the cookies? No. So that's gone. I could say Safari, Apple Safari, they don't use cookies anymore. Firefox doesn't use cookies anymore. Chrome is the only one that actually still uses cookies. And the reason why it still kind of works today is because Chrome is 60% of the internet user base out there. So, marketers are looking at it and saying, hey, I mean, this still kind of works right now, but with the cookie deprecation, with 1% starting in Q1 and FY24, that's when you're going to start seeing a lot of these problems coming. So like using third-party data sources as identity is going to absolutely hamper marketing efforts moving forward. And it's up to like the technical teams to understand, okay, well, what are the alternatives and how do we use these alternatives to power these use cases that my business users are looking for?
Really interesting. I think that's probably a great place to leave it, because we are running up on time. But just sort of as a final question here, Jason, if somebody wants to get started with Amperity or find out more, what do you recommend?
To visit the website, or you could reach out directly to me. My email is jason.perocho, Perocho, @amperity.com.
Okay. Well, Jason, thank you so much. This has been a great, it was a great presentation, great demo, and really appreciate all your insights here in the Q&A. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
All right, and we do have one more piece of business, and that is the prize drawing today. And so the winner of the $250 Amazon gift card is Chrissy Sutton from California. So congratulations to Chrissy Sutton. We'll be in touch to get you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I just want to thank Amperity and Jason again for making this event possible. And thanks as always for attending and for your great questions. That concludes today's event. Have a fantastic rest of